Welcome, everyone, to the Genuine Content Podcast, our very first episode. I am your host, Josh. I'm with my other host, Jay. Jay, it is a Wednesday night. We're here. We're live. Talk to us, man. What's good? What's popping?
Wow, it's February the 8th. It's a good Wednesday right now. Not too bad. Today wasn't too long. Work wasn't that bad. Honestly, the whole day I've been waiting for this moment. Like, the anxiety's coming in, the butterflies are kicking. Man, we've been practicing for this podcast for about a month, and people really don't know, like, the difficulty and, like, trying to be perfect and, like, trying to get the quality and such. Like, we've been trying so hard and practicing, but, man, I'm ready, man. We gave ourselves a date to finally release, and ideally, this is gonna be our first episode, so I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about our topic to everyone.
Yeah, the days of perfectionism are over, man. Like, no perfectionist vibes anymore, man. We're just going to run full steam ahead. We've had internet tests, sound tests. There's probably going to be something that's going to slip up at some point, but, we're here for it. We're prepared. We're ready. So welcome, everyone, to Genuine Content. We're excited to bring this series, this showcase, our podcast introductions to you all. Jay, podcasting was your brainchild, your vision. You would approach me about doing something like this. So why don't you give the people an idea of kind of what led you to podcasting?
Yeah, so I want to say I started listening to podcasts like around 2013. So, it's been like 10 years. So that's pretty wild when you think about it. I probably didn't start listening to podcasts like after I graduated from undergrad. Yeah, and I started with video game podcasts. I consider myself a gamer, so like I would follow a couple of gaming websites because broke college grad, I couldn't just afford and buy every game, so like I had to be smart with my money. So I would just listen to different reviews, listen to different people give their critiques about video games that I was interested in. And then it started with just gameplay, give videos on the game and how it works. And then I noticed videos on a round table style, and they said that they were doing a podcast, and I was like interested, like, what's a podcast? And I look, and I have a Apple Podcast app just automatically installed because all iPhones had that, and that's what I was open to, like the vast world of podcasting. Like I was following my favorite video game reviewers, and then I found sport podcasts, I found movie podcasts, music, politics, comedy, like you name it. Like it's so much different genres, and I was like overwhelmed, and I just been listening to it like ever since. And I listen to it all the time, like especially during my commutes to work, there, back, sometimes at the gym, sometimes when I'm walking around. And yeah, it's like a part of my life right now. I probably listen to podcasts more than I watch TV. And I think what really like set it off for me was in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, when me and my friends were just playing online together, and we made an agreement that we can't see each other, we're stuck at home. Let's play like every Tuesday, every Wednesday. And we was playing, and then we just started talking stuff, and like we like different things like anime, movies and such. And then for one day we just decided, hey, we all love Star Wars, we all have Disney Plus, let's rewatch all 9 movies and review it and go from there. And sure enough, for 9 weeks, we were, it didn't even matter about the game. Like I think the game was kind of our background noise. Like that was just our reason to kind of link up together. But we just talked for hours just about Star Wars, and it made me realize, like, man, like, not that podcasting is easy or anything like that, but like when you're comfortable in what you're talking about and who you're talking with, like maybe podcasting isn't that hard. Because I feel like we gave 9 free podcasting episodes that no one would ever hear again. There's no recording, there's nothing. And that's when I realized I probably want to do this one day. And we're doing it now, and it's more of a hobby, but I think when you find someone you have like chemistry with, because that's the key to this, then I mean, we could run an episode for hours essentially.
Yeah. It's funny because, the group chat that we even have, like, us and our friends, we talk about various things. Some of it, of course, nonsensical, just very funny stuff, right? Not necessarily, deep or whatever, but there'll be those occasional moments where someone will find an article or someone will find a topic that is so thought provoking, and everybody just kind of flips the script and goes into uh, this thought process of being like very introspective and stating their opinions, and everybody has this debate about what's going on, and everyone has this take. Everyone is kind of learning from each other, and it almost becomes like a think tank of ideas.
Hey, before you continue, man, if anyone knows us, I think they're gonna be very shocked about what you said. Like, we're just like, I feel like a bunch of just not serious, goofy people, and then we just be having these serious talk, and we just have serious discussions like on a weekly basis. People would never think that from us.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been a wild journey, like learning from everybody just in the group chat, and that's kind of my introduction to podcasts, was just that opportunity to learn from people who don't always get the notoriety or the recognition. Because a lot of people can start a podcast with limited resources and don't necessarily have to have the backing of mass media behind you in order to get your voice out. And I've learned a lot of things from people who were even special to me, who generated podcasts and started developing content just off of their passions. Like, I've learned so much from philosophical questions to cannabis to a myriad of different things that kind of go under the radar from people who are just living their lives one day at a time. And so I figured I could be a part of that vibe. I can be a part of that energy, spread some positivity to the world. And Jay, I appreciate you kind of bringing me onto this vision, man.
I mean, yeah, like I said before, man, it's all about chemistry. And I mean, we have like our side discussions. I feel like no one really likes, like, especially like Florida football. Like, no one likes Florida football like us, especially in the group. Like, people are just like very, very casual about it, but like we go like knee deep into it. Like, we'll talk about the schedule, we'll talk about opponents, we'll talk about recruiting. Like, we talk about like the nerdy stuff when it comes to that. And then like that's why I noticed, like, okay, well, the chemistry's kind of there, and then I'll send you an article about something that happened in the world, and I just get your perspective on it, and we just kind of go back and forth, whether we agree or disagree. It didn't matter. It just like, I just want to talk to someone about it, and like, I felt like so comfortable talking to you about it because like I feel like you challenge me, like you challenge my way of thinking sometimes, and that's what I want. So that's when I realized, man, like, if I'm gonna do a podcast with anyone, it's gonna be with Josh, because the chemistry's already there, and I don't know. It's just like, I feel like what we're doing now is like, is what we do on a daily basis. We're just recording each other now. So that's what, it just feel comfortable that way. And I think that's a good thing about podcasting. If you listen to any good podcast, like, they're not that they're unscripted, but they're like uncut, or the best ones are uncut. There's like really no editing or anything like that. Like, I think one of the best podcasts is like Drink Champs, right? Like Nori he does not like edit anything, and that's what he's known for. So like, what you get is like raw stuff, and I feel like that's what we want to do. Like, this is all one take, so it's like from the beginning or from our recording to the end is what you're gonna get, because this is like a genuine side of us where we're not trying to be like politically correct, or we're not trying to like put a facade or anything. Like, this is just us genuinely just talking about what we want to talk about.
Yeah. And I think in the grand scheme of things, we really want to learn. And so for individuals in our audience or individuals who listen to what we say, what we think, by all means, we welcome all opinions. We welcome all perspectives. We plan to not just have just the two of us on every episode. We plan to bring people in from many different walks of life to share kind of what they think on certain things, depending on the topic. And so we really want this to be like a mutual beneficial learning experience for everybody. Some fun stuff. We'll have some humor with it. We'll have some good times, good vibes. But at the center core, we just want to have open, earnest conversations so that people can kind of, learn what we're about, and vice versa. We learn what our audience is about. We learn what the people around us are doing, and we grow together.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that we want to focus, especially in this podcast, is like the culture. And like there's so many different things going on in the world that you don't really know until like maybe something that you like is affected by it. And that's when you want to talk about it. So I know for us, we want to talk about the issues, but with those different type of those examples, we're going to use examples to bring people in. So like that's your way to kind of listen, and then you realize how you can expand that topic. Just like, I mean, the topic we're going to talk about today, like we're going to expand it. Another topic, like whenever we release our practice podcast, like we did multiple episodes on like Deion Sanders, and of course, like a lot of football was spoken in that podcast because we know a lot of football. It was more being about like sellout and like HBCUs and like like supporting. So like that's probably a discussion we have a lot, and it was really having Deion as the main focus, really bringing on that topic. And then like we discussed him, yeah, but we went real deep into it. Like what is a sellout? Like, am I a sellout for doing this and that, or are you a sellout for doing this and that? So like we're gonna always find a way to expand on like little things like that, or like, I mean, and like we don't know if we're gonna do an episode like this, but if there's any Harry Potter fans, like I like Harry Potter, I really love Harry Potter. There's a lot of backlash with the whole J.K. Rowling thing and her comments, and we won't get into it in this episode. We'll save it for a different one. But like what she says has a big outlash in regards to what she said and what people feel about her, whether you support Harry Potter or not. A new Harry Potter video game came out, so you're not supposed to support that anymore. Vote with your wallet. So it's just so much stuff. But like it's simple. Like a simple thing is just like, oh, she said something that people know Harry Potter, and we're just gonna bring different topics into it. So I mean, that's the point of the podcast. Like that's what we want to do, right? Just expand the culture and what we know, and then like educate us, because like we might be wrong in so many things, but that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's growth is what we want at this podcast.
Most definitely.
If we're wrong, we're wrong. I mean, if I think you're wrong or something, I'm gonna call you out. If you think I'm wrong, you're gonna call me out. And then whenever we have special guests, call me out, because I mean I don't know everything. Like, so I mean maybe I don't agree with you, maybe I do, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's about sharing the other perspective, right? As long as there's mutual understanding of where somebody else comes from, you don't necessarily have to agree.
Yes.
But if you can understand that walk of life or that perspective, well, then maybe there's something else that's gained besides persuasion, right? But let's not bury the lead, because we have a full-blown episode here for you all today. We're going to talk about Wakanda Forever, the new movie from Marvel, the sequel to the
relatively
original
new
movie. True, it's been a while at this point, but the sequel to Black Panther recently came out towards the winter of 2022. So we're gonna dive into that a little bit. But first, wherever streaming platforms we're on, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Google Play, you name it, find us, follow us. We're gonna be genuine content. Content is with a K. That has nothing to do with our background, and you'll get to know us a little bit on that. But
man, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. There you go. I like it. But yeah, follow us, subscribe, like, interact with us. We love comments, we love feedback. Please share what your thoughts are and what we're doing, how we're doing it, and we want to improve day in and day out for you all. So
definitely, and as we grow, we'll definitely drop more links: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, whatever. Man, we want to be inclusive to all. So
absolutely, it. So Jay, you're the movie buff here, but it's funny because every time a new movie comes out, you're the first person, whether it's a trailer, like you knew it like 2 hours in advance before the whole thing is released or something.
Oh yeah,
that's like, oh no, it's coming out like next year. Like, y'all ready for it? And we're like, bro, it's next year. What are you talking about? But now this one's coming out, and you always have like a review special for every movie that comes out that you're interested in. So give the people your reaction to Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Black Panther.
Okay, I'll give a little brief history and then my thoughts on it. So it's no coincidence that we chose Black Panther for our first episode, or Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It being February 8th, it is Black History Month. So I just feel,
You know what time it is.
Disney Plus released it on February 1st, and it's like, okay, if you didn't catch it in November, well, you can catch it now. Now's the time to catch it. And it's like, you know what? Let's capitalize on this moment. I feel like maybe more people just saw it now. We don't know anyone's financial reasons, or people don't like going to the movies anymore. Of course, that's like almost a dead art, or going to be a dead art. So I feel like more people are seeing it. So like the discussion is back about Wakanda Forever. Like there was an initial discussion back in November, kind of died out during the holidays, of course. But now we're back, especially with Black History Month, and like Black Panther being like such an icon right now. So so like what everyone's gonna find out about me is I'm a huge like movie person, comic book nerd. Like I'm all about Marvel, been about that for years. So with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, like I was excited for this movie for there's multiple reasons. One, the first one was really good. Like there's no denying, like the first Black Panther is really good. It's an iconic movie at this point. Like it's like it got to go in the history books. Like I feel like once, like as a kid, once you're in school and you're talking about Black History Month, like you have to talk about Black Panther. You have to show it to the kids. Like it's like it's historical. Like you have to. It's part of it. Like we watch all these others like civil rights movies or Black History Month movies, but this has to be in the conversation now because of when you think about it. Like I mean, use me for example. I'm Hispanic. Growing up, how many Hispanic heroes have I seen? So like representation matters.
Absolutely.
So if you're seeing like African American boys are saying like, oh wow, like Black Panther, like T'Challa, he like I can be him and such. Like that's like why can't I be him? Like or he's my idol, and I mean that light in that kid's face, it's just like priceless because people don't really understand that, and a lot of people really don't because like the majority of people are white. So when you see a lot of white heroes and such, you don't understand because like it's like you're almost like numb to it because it's normal.
Yeah, it's a dime a dozen type of thing right now.
It's like how many superheroes are just white? Like it's rarely like diverse at this point. It's of course it makes sense when you think about the history and such, but once you get the diversity in there, you want to just really hold on to it. So this movie comes out, like it was coming out, so I'm excited for that point. This is like the first movie without Chadwick Boseman, so of course this is like a somber moment. Everyone wants to know if the movie does him justice. How can we move on from him? Is Black Panther is Black Panther an icon, like can live forever, which we all hope. Which spoiler alert, it does. He's an icon. Like it's not one person. Which is what the message is sent. And then also like again, I'm Hispanic, and like we get our first he's labeled as the first mutant, so I'm not gonna get too nerdy on it, but he's gonna introduce the X-Men and such. So but he's our, I wouldn't even say villain, he's our anti-hero, Namor.
Interesting.
But he's an anti-hero. I will debate that with anyone. He's not the villain of the movie. But if you want to say he's the antagonist, he's, we'll go with that. And which I can agree with because if you, again, not to get too nerdy, but if you think of like the Civil War movie, right? Captain America Civil War, you have Captain America, but then his antagonist is Iron Man, but he's obviously not a villain. But they have opposing ideologies.
Exactly.
So with that, I'm excited. This is like our first Hispanic anything, right? Like he's Mexican. He's a Mexican. In the comics, he's a superhero, or he's a hero / anti-hero / whatever you want to call him, not a villain. So I'm excited because like He's getting his shot, and then with the director Ryan Coogler doing it, he did such a phenomenal job with Black Panther, showing the representation of Wakanda. I thought, perfect actor, perfect director to showcase Namor, and then I keep forgetting the underwater city. In the comics, it's technically Atlantis, but for legal reasons, because of DC doing an Aquaman movie and they did Atlantis, you can't do it. It's really stupid. I'm not gonna get into it, but they rename Atlantis. I forgot what the name is, but super excited on it. So it's all about representation, and I just after Avengers Endgame, we've gotten lukewarm movies and TV shows. So I feel like if anything, like Black Panther's a known quantity, I'm ready for something. I'm ready for this, and it did not disappoint.
There you go.
I'm gonna try to keep light spoilers in case anyone didn't see it, but it did not disappoint. I think in certain aspects, it's better than Black Panther. I remember when we first had the discussion on this topic, I couldn't give an answer. Time has passed. I won't say definitively, but probably the first one is better. But I just think it's because it just weighs so much. Like, there's so much weight on it. It's the first.
Yeah.
And with Chadwick on it, like he's in it. So even though I don't think he's the best character in his own movie, that's a debate for another day.
People with a little cliffhanger on that. All right.
So we can always come back to that.
Absolutely.
But overall, I think Wakanda Forever is a really good movie. I mean, what's your reaction to it? I'll definitely go more in depth in regards to it and such.
So I will definitively say that Black Panther 1 was the better of the two movies. But aside from that, and that's probably a personal preference thing, I think in a lot of ways it's kind of an apples and oranges comparison if you want to, look at them side by side, because to your point earlier, Wakanda Forever was much more solemn, much more themes of grief, of overcoming internal struggles, right? And I feel like Black Panther, the first one, was more like external struggles, where you're talking from, not necessarily nation to nation, but the antagonist in Wakanda Forever was more like the main character's internal struggles to find themselves, find a new identity, which I think was much better actually than the first one. But when it comes to the action, the charisma, the charm of the movie itself, I think the first one just kind of blew it out of the water when it came to like the action-packed elements. Really.
Oof. I hard disagree.
Really. All right, talk to me. I really think that like the initial show of Black Panther, like that, that, like, I don't know, that what you call it, like his first showcase of greatness, like his initial clash with M'Baku, then Hunger, like the sequence of him like rising to the challenge time and time again, and the way he did it, I think was better than, from an action standpoint, the second.
It's time to just rip the bandage off. Like, we're gonna go spoilers on this. No, man, action wise, like, just Namor just destroying Wakanda, like putting it underwater. That's nothing the first Black Panther does that comes remotely close to that. And that's not even the best action scene in the movie. The fact that of course, there's some build up to it. Where Wakanda is a technologically advanced city, the most powerful city in the world, essentially. Full of vibranium, which is the strongest material, and Namor just came and wrecked shop. He used his advantage. He's an underwater mutant, essentially. I'm just gonna kind of not dumb it down, but like in layman's terms. When we say like he's like a mermaid or something, like he can manipulate water. He just put Wakanda underwater and just a place that we spent like 2.5 hours in the first movie that was so powerful and so ahead of his time was just destroyed by almost primitive means. Like you're just underwater and we just beat you down. We
think though, right? But they also had vibranium and in massive,
of course, to later
quantity, right?
we can find out later. Yeah.
I guess really the initial clash started was because the Wakandans, in some ways, kind of unintentionally brought more notoriety, or brought more, I guess, eyes on their communities' resources because they found, or somebody was able to find vibranium underwater, which was theirs, which has been like hidden for all of these years. And now all of a sudden, now they have to protect themselves and kind of, let's just nip this whole thing in the bud. Let's just cancel everything.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but Josh, how do you feel about this? Since we're talking about the movie, I mean, how do you feel that Shuri just kind of, or like Shuri and her mother, the queen, kind of turned their back against Namor when he was asking for a hand? Together we're powerful. We can take down the colonizers. They're trying to take something away from us, and we can't allow that. So that's essentially what the conflict the movie is. Together we're powerful, but you separate us and we're vulnerable. And we saw some vulnerability in the movie between both parties. We're not even talking about the other side of the party. That's whatever. We're just talking about the Wakandians and Namor and his people. I mean, how do you feel about that? Because I feel like that's a lot of that goes on in today's world.
I think the demands were too great for Wakanda to take on, right? Because essentially it would have been sacrificing the life of a black child. And once they found that that's who was really the one who cracked the code in finding vibranium, they just weren't going to do that. And I think that is one of the more respectful aspects of Wakanda that I found even in the first movie, right? That even though they didn't necessarily share their resources for legitimate reasons, the fear of it getting into the wrong hands and things of that nature, they still have a very empathetic eye to the plight of the world. And from a social standpoint, I think they made the right decision. Now, I do agree with Neymar's side that they were definitely better off. Like they could have absolutely wrecked the entire NATO, UN, any other like coalition of nations in one fell swoop. But it's not worth it at the end of the day either, right? They have the power, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to use it.
I hear you. I mean, I don't know what I would do because I see both sides.
And I think they also wanted to take the battle to them first, right? Almost like a preemptive strike. Like the iron's hot. Let's just knock everybody out and we just kind of run our own show, which you have your minor clashes and everything. But at the end of the day, like you don't just wipe off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take.
I know what the problem is for me is we have Namor who's, hey man, I'm just minding my own business. You were minding your own business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, Wakanda, y'all was minding your business for years, and it wasn't until a colonizer come in, and he came in, found some vibranium, worked with, one of your own, and essentially took y'all down. So it's like, well, how can we prevent that? She is, again, I get what you're saying, but like, it's like, man, like she could have been Killmonger. It's a similar situation. She kind of takes them down because she creates the machine that finds vibranium, and of course, without her knowing, that is detrimental to them. So he's like, "Hey, we've been minding our business for years, and they come in our turf, and we're not bothering you, but you want to bother us. So I guess it's time for us to handle our business." History have shown that both parties, both Africans and Hispanics, or regardless of what country, Hispanic, Spanish country you're from, slavery has happened somewhere or another, right? And I think the really powerful scene in Wakanda Forever is that scene of
Okay.
Namor, right?
Yep.
Because that shows you the similarities between two cultures. Because you don't think that between Hispanics. Like, come on, growing up in school, how many times have you learned about Hispanic slavery or anything like that? You don't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, of course, Black History Month comes, and of course, history, like slavery is such a huge part of American dark history. So of course, we're going to learn about it. And African Americans has shaped this country, but Hispanics, I feel like you don't read it. We don't learn too much about it, and that was such a powerful scene because that was the first time I saw that. I knew about it, and I read about it because, like, at least at one point in school, we had to learn stuff for Hispanic Heritage Month, and I learned stuff like about the slavery aspect, but you never see that. So I thought that was such a powerful scene. So he's like, look, we both went through this. Why will we continuously let this happen? Because they're going to do it again. They're trying to find vibranium, and what's going to happen? They're going to overtake us. As you saw in the beginning of the movie, and was a powerful scene by the Queen, is they were trying to steal it from them. And what happened when they get all the vibranium? They're going to overthrow Wakanda. And she said, not on my watch. She said, do it again. Do it again. I'm letting them live. And you should be happy on that. Like, that was a boss move. Like,
oh yeah, that was definitely there. That was elegant beauty in all its finest right there. Woo. No thirst.
so it's like yeah, the Neymar was like too extreme to an extent, but man, like, I do not fault him, and it's like, and it sucks because would you, like, you're asking me, will I sacrifice her? I don't know, because there's always that message. Do you sacrifice one for the greater good? And that's that ethical question. And you never know it's worth it until the aftermath. That's when you know if it's worth it or not. And
True.
so
I guess at the end of the day, like, what does killing her actually accomplish, right? Like, you don't really silence it because, to your point, they're just going to do it right again, right? You're just going to find the next prodigy, and then you're going to have to do it again and again and again. And so, you actually have an opportunity to bring that person into your tutelage and mentorship, and you can elevate Wakanda even more because if you think about it, she basically created that machine with nothing when it comes to relative resources, right?
She's Tony Stark.
Absolutely.
And fun fact, since again I'm the nerdy guy here,
hey,
she becomes Ironheart. Obviously, you see the heart in her suit.
Yep.
In the comics, that is Tony Stark's prodigy. So it's no coincidence that she has her own Iron Man suit that she quote unquote created. Like, that's not Iron Man suit, but she created her own machine.
Exactly.
So obviously, we'll get her Disney Plus TV show to introduce her into the whole world of Marvel, and we'll learn more about her. I mean, but it is cool, like, to see, like, this genius, like, she's a MIT genius, but it's tough because, like, I think, like, the whole thing with the movie trying to show is like, even now, and what I guess we're gonna get political and such because that's how I feel. But, like, what did we say about, like, the election, like, during, like, the Trump election, where, man, if, like, Black people, Hispanic people just work together, maybe Trump doesn't win the election. And of course, there was some there was some split sides on that. We didn't work together. We worked together on physics. And I feel like there's a lot of things that divide us or try to divide us, and it's this world is becoming more divisive than I remember it being, like, even 10 years ago. Or maybe I was just sheltered or naive.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of information out there, right? Like, you have a new age where YouTube reigns supreme, Google reigns supreme, and you can get information, you can get social media content, videos of positive or negative publicity at the touch of a button, right? Just right on your hand. Like, I'm podcasting right now on my phone. Like, it's just so easy to put stuff, right? Yeah, like Facebook Live. like any live streaming thing you can make happen, you can see things in real time, and people's perspectives have been compromised in a lot of different ways because you can't just hide behind your own bubble of or your ecosystem of where you've nurtured these things, because there's just so much out there that you're almost forced to expand your horizons, or at least see other sides of the spectrum. And it's scary to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it brings fear, and fear brings, in a lot of ways, violence and other negative energies out there. And it's tough because nobody wants to be in a society like that, but there has to be a method of coming together at some point in time.
I agree.
Whoever figures that out probably should be the president of the United States, or other countries, if you will. That's probably true leadership, but it's going to be tough before it gets better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, God bless the person who is that person, because I think a lot of people are just stuck they're stuck in their ways, man. So it's like, like whatever their ideology, way of thinking, whatever you want to call it, like whatever it is, they're kind of stuck with it. Like they don't want to deviate or admit they were wrong or anything like that.
Well, why would you, right? Like, it's a lot of times the thoughts and opinions that you have are generations deep, right? Sometimes most people don't form their own ideologies on their own. They were taught it. They were almost indoctrinated in it. And I don't mean in a negative way, but like your parents taught it to you. Their parents taught it to them. Their parents taught it to them. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's that strong.
I mean, they think about it at this point. Like, how many videos have you seen of like two babies, like two like children, like 4 or 5 years old, right? One black, one white, and they don't know what racism is, but they're just kids and they just play with each other. And it's not till later that is instilled in you, whether you embrace all or you don't, and then that's what creates the racist behavior.
I mean,
because kids don't know that.
It's behavior, right? Like, it's modeling. So yeah. It's a household level thing. You model what you see, and until you have the cognitive development to deviate from your own indoctrination, if you will, if that's what you want to call it, I'll keep it on brand. Then you're gonna act out what you were told. You're going to think what you were told, and it might be blind as hell too, which is the scariest part, right? It's rooted in something that you don't even understand half the time. If you're young and impressionable.
That's why it's key. It's so important to like raising your children, and like raising, like, it takes a village, right? And you got to do it together. And again, that's a topic for another day. But let's go on into like the main thing I want to talk about, and it's what did you think of Namor? Like, just overall, like, as like his position, his villain, anti-hero, whatever you want to call him, and is he an icon or not? Like, whatever you want to talk about in regards to him, or significance of Namor. I think that's a better way of saying it.
A true leader is kind of what I think of when I think of Namor, because he is willing to make the tough decisions to save his people, or to preserve the individualism of their community, right? He's willing to do whatever it takes to preserve it. He's willing to wipe out anything and everything that comes in his path. And there's a certain level of respect that you can have for that. Also think he's just badass as a character, like, just straight up, like, just taking everything, like, away from it. It just simply,
he's like ballsy.
He'll risk the biscuit, man. Like, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, he is so in tune with his powers and his abilities that he makes mountains move, man. Like, the way he manipulates water, the way he has control of his own abilities, his own power. Like, you can tell he's self-mastered, and it's clear as day why people follow him. Yeah. And while people go through the bat and sacrifice themselves for him and the cause and the community, and everyone seems so close knit, like they have a culture that is based on success, that is rooted around each other. That's what true leaders, that's what CEOs dream about. That's what coaches dream about. Like, that's what anyone who's operating like a big organization dreams to have people who are aligned in their vision. And that's exactly what he has. And he's had it for what, hundreds of years, because that's how long he's lived.
Yep.
He only grows wiser, right? I do think that there's a lot that Wakanda could have learned from Neymar if they were actually able to have a genuine conversation longer than what Shuri was there for, right?
Before you continue, wasn't that what T'Challa said in the end of Black Panther? Like, everyone was saying how you should work with each other, and it's like, man, did you not learn? 5 years later, like, this is what you're talking about. But keep going.
Yeah, man. But yeah, just to wrap it up, I mean, the quintessential leader, the quintessential one that you want to have running an organization, right? Running the show. If you have something to protect, for sure, he will do it. He seems like if you are a part of the culture, if you are a part of the community, he's got your back. He's thinking of your best interest. Now, it may be, once again, to your point, you sacrifice the one for the good of the few, right? But you know that your legacy will thrive on. Like, there's nothing going to happen to that community ever.
And before I go, like, to piggyback on what you said, like, he's willing to make the sacrifice. He's willing to take that guilt,
to play the long game, right?
Yes, he's willing to be the bad guy temporarily to save his people. It was admirable.
Yeah.
I want to say he said that in the movie too. Like, I'm okay being this. I'm okay making the bad choices to save my family.
Yeah. And I'm even thinking, like, at the very end when he actually lost and he was saying, look, they're going to need us eventually. And
play the long game.
Yeah, you make the long game. You play the long game, play the long-term strategy to where, all right, you know what? I just planted the seed on it. Now let's just watch this thing grow. I may not have won the battle, but I'm not losing the war.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he won. I mean, not physically. Like, he won the physical battle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he definitely ain't losing the war, right? Like,
yeah, it's the same way I felt about, like, Killmonger. I think Killmonger won. Yeah, he died, but he won because at the end of the day, like, T'Challa followed
sources.
He followed what he said. Yeah, so how would I think about Namor is I think he will eventually be like the icon. Like, he will be similar to what we think of Black Panther. And the reason I say this is because he's gonna get his own movie, and you gotta think of it at this point, like, what Black Panther means for Black people, like, the icon. This is your first hero. Well, for me, like, I don't think he's a villain. Like, I think he's like an anti-hero. Like, he is what I think a hero not should be, but in real life is. I don't think heroes are goody two shoes or anything like that. Like, I'm not gonna kill you because I'm too good. I'm above. Like, I don't break the laws. Like, no. I feel like real heroes, like, would just do what needs to be done.
Yeah. And, like, to go along with that, like, I think I kind of, you know who really pisses me off in Marvel?
Like Captain America?
Yep.
Because it's unrealistic.
Exactly. It makes no sense. You can't be that morally, you can't be that morally linear.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fight you, but I'm not gonna kill you but even though if you might escape and you might kill hundreds of people. I digress. So he's gonna eventually become that because now you just said it, like, what the amount of compassion he shows for his people, and like they didn't dive too deep into it, but like he's of Mexican descent. At least with Hispanics, even when you talk about like one group of Hispanics, it's kind of like you talk about all of us. Like, even though I'm not Mexican, but it's like, yo, like, I can still see myself, like, I'm still Hispanic and I still can relate to what he's saying. And what makes him different the Black Panther. Like he's like, so what makes Black Panther like a superhero and such is that one is his ideology, his leadership, but he also takes a plant that would give him the superpower. Now, if you pay attention to the movie, he's been taking that for hundreds of years. That's what mutated him. That's what makes him the first mutant. And his people have that. That's why they're basically like essentially mermaids. And he's just like such a leader. And like people are doing this. People are doing the little Kamehameha, right? Like it's
I love that reference, man. That was little
like,
blast from the anime vibes. Yeah.
Like you can walk around and all you do is this. If people, obviously we're an audio podcast, but I'm doing the hand sign that he does, and you can do that, and we know what that means. It's the same thing that what this means, Wakanda Forever, and it's like their version of that.
Yep.
And it's with Black Panther. This will be the third time because we saw him in Captain America: Civil War, and he got his own movie. Now we got the third one. So there's been, and then now it doesn't include the Avengers movie. So there's 5 times he's been exposed, or Black Panther, the character's been exposed. Namor only has 1. So obviously it takes some time. And there's more for the casual fan, they know Black Panther, they don't know Namor, but they will know him. He just left his mark on that movie. Like, I think the mark of a good villain is when you're the best character in the movie. You outshine the hero, which he did. Like, I don't think, no offense to Shuri and such, I don't think she was too much of a compelling protagonist. I don't think so. It's kind of hard shoes to fill with Chadwick. So you got to remember, or people don't know, this was a movie that was written with him in mind, and then he passed away, unfortunately, and they had to scrap everything. So this is like not last minute, but they rushed. Like they really had to change things up to keep their schedule on his tasks. And
did a hell of a job still.
Yeah. So with it, it's just like, so this is the third movie in which Marvel has like tried to take a diverse lead. You have one with Black Panther, very successful. You had 2 with I can't even think of the Asian movie.
Oh shoot. Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Legend of the Ten Rings, Shang-Chi. So I know he got a lot of flack when people was like, oh, I'm trying to carry the torch that Chadwick made. And people was like, oh, no, you're not nowhere near that. But I get what he's saying. Like, he's for the Asian market, like this is their superhero.
Yeah.
While the movie's good, I don't think culturally that's not too much of a strong impact. It's just, okay, it was a cool movie. That's what I got from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But with Wakanda Forever, it's like, okay, it's not a Namor movie, but he was in the movie at least 50-60% of the time. It was like it was his movie without the name. And
I can agree with that.
And he did, again, like I think he left a stamp on, and of course now we're teased that he's going to be in future movies. Rumors are he's going to get his own movie / TV show, whichever they decide. And I just think it's our turn. I'm speaking of our Hispanics. With the first Black Panther, for me, I'm speaking for me. Like, I was excited. I'm going to support. I'm going to support this movie. Like, I grew up with Black people, so I had no problem, especially because I love the character of Black Panther. But it's like, okay, now I'm Hispanic, and it's always like, oh my, it's like it's our turn. And with Ryan Coogler, he did such an amazing job in showing the characterization of Namor. And it's like, man, like he did his character justice, the right director to do it. And man, it kind of disappoints me, the backlash with Namor. And I guess, segue time into what I feel about like Dr. Umar Johnson. I know a little bit more about Dr. Umar than you, so I'll give a brief history to people. Um, he's a very passionate individual. Got his
Say the least.
I want to say he got his PhD in psychology, so he's really into mental health and such. And I'm not gonna say this. This is not gonna come out negative any way like that. But he's very much pro-black, and that's not being negative or anything like that. That's just
not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just what it like. It is what it is. Like he's all about that Black power, empowering Black culture, and everything. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I think he's almost an extremist, and he will uplift his culture by bringing down someone else. It's like it's not like we get a we win together type thing. I'll let you go and then I'll continue on.
That's a very interesting point. I mean, when you say extremist, I definitely catch those vibes on a couple of clips that I've seen of him. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm well versed in his content and his thoughts and his ideologies. As you mentioned, there's still a lot more that I need to research. But I just don't think that it's healthy to live in a complete realm of absolutism, right? Like to be black and white with no shades of gray, just that doesn't, I just don't think that that's how the world can work.
Mm-hmm.
So from my ideological standpoint, I just don't think any sort of black and white type of take can really catch on, because as empowering as it can be, it still muddies the water in a lot of ways too, because you sacrifice a lot to your point. Like you bring other people down to elevate yourself. Well, then what are they going to think? What are they going to do? It's instant conflict theory, right? Where now people are just going to be defensive and bounce back and come back even stronger and against you. So you run this risk of when you almost incite negativity on another community, another point of view and perspective, instead of just uplifting everybody and uplifting and even in the case of Wakanda Forever, the good elements of the movie itself, because he not only diminished and put down another community, he put down black people at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you beat me to it. So for our listeners, the reason why it sounds kind of random why I bring up Dr. Umar, but the reason is because he had some, so he's known for his hot takes is what I'll say. He's very eccentric, and he has a huge platform. I don't know whether he has his own podcast or anything like that, but I know he's very involved in the community, and he joins as special guest for different podcasts. He's a frequent guest of the Breakfast Club. If anyone listens to the morning show, that's how I found out about this.
With Charlemagne.
So that's how I found out about what he said about Wakanda Forever. Basically, there was a clip saying that very much, his quick take on it. He didn't like Wakanda Forever. Basically, he okay. Basically, what he says, I didn't take my two black children to see a black movie in which a Mexican beats up on black people, and basically saying, like, kind of downplaying the whole thing. Basically, like, no, like, I only came to see black people. Why these Mexicans here? Get your own movie, like kind of stuff like that. And it was like, what the hell, like.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this is where his platform becomes a little dangerous, because people really think like it. I learned this especially with the Trump administration, where it may not be the popular belief, but when someone that loud says something like that, you believe you're gonna come out and say, and a lot of people kind of agree with what Umar says, and it's like including him think this way. And I'm like, like, do you not know the significance of Neymar? I'm not gonna beat to death about the Hispanic significance to this, because we already said that. He's Black Panther's arch nemesis. That's their thing. That they butt heads. Like when you ever read the Black Panther comics or anything about, if you know anything about Black Panther, like people were excited that Namor was going to be the upcoming villain because like, oh, like that's like they're going to butt heads because as you see in the movie, they're similar, but like two powerful leaders can't sit down and talk. And this is what happens, right? When you just can't sit down and talk, violence happens. But they're both like very strong, powerful individuals who care about their people. And he's like, oh, I didn't, want them to see them get whipped up. Black people are getting whipped up. How is that the case? How are the Mexicans stronger? Well, if you do the research or if you pay attention to the movie, they're mutants and they're ingesting the same plant that T'Challa and past Black Panthers take to make them that strong. So there's reasons behind it, not because we're gonna make this racist and we're gonna like black people lose. No, like what kind of movie is it where there is no conflict? Like there has to be conflict, of course. Like without seeing them, if I didn't see that movie, Wakanda was gonna lose one way or another. They lost in the first one. Like it happens. Like it's like this cliche. Like you're on top, the downfall happens. Whether you come back up from it, that depends on the story. But what kind of movie did you expect, or like I don't, someone who didn't know the history of Black Panther and Namor? It showed, and there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. But when your ignorance is leading to like negativity and like downplaying people and such, like you saying that, it's like, man, like how do I feel about that? So like if I watch a movie, I'm gonna watch a Hispanic movie and then they get beat up by a black person. Should I just talk bad about it because like, oh, I didn't watch this to see my my people get beat up by a black person? Like, oh, no, like what? Like that's not what. It was no racial context to that.
Yeah.
Especially in the movie. So it's like dude, those are just like he just says like he probably doesn't mean to be intentionally harmful or anything like that, but he's like such a personality, and he can't be wrong because he will try to shut you up, like Charlemagne has tried to like fight back or like kind of debate him, and he's like, "There's always this, there's always that," and it's like, well, we can't have like a genuine conversation like what we're trying to do, like just talk to each other about it. Like he won't, like he has to be right, and he does a lot of good things for the community, but like I just want to call you. I'm gonna call him out for like the bad that he does. I feel like as a Hispanic person, like what are you saying? Like so if I watched the movie and then the Wakandans beat up on the Mexicans. Oh, so like man, like you're happy that the Wakandans are beating up everybody and beating up on the Hispanics and beating up on the white people? Like no, like this there's a story to it, and I think he's on a slippery slope sometimes, and there's way more to it. You can obviously go on YouTube and listen to it, but like he even trashes the first Black Panther, talking about it's conservative blacks versus woke blacks, and he just can't be happy.
He probably hates the first one. If he didn't like the second one, he probably hates the first one.
He didn't like the first. He didn't like both of them, and it's like instead of being like happy about like a movie about representation and like a movie that's empowering Black people, empowering Hispanic people, we're empowering diversity and such. You're not getting that. You're just like talking junk about it, and it's like come on, man. Like not everything has to be negative. Like unless there was like legit critiques, like he had legit like critical ideas about it, but he didn't. It was just like he continued his character as being this person, as being Dr. Umar.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much more to add than that because it seems like in both movies he would prefer to have something that's almost to the point of like propaganda-y, right? where it's all for the glory of one side and nothing else. And like I said, like that creates very dangerous dynamics in and of itself as well. But I mean, to your point, like authenticity has to be in there somewhere, right? You can't just spin a story that has been rooted in comics and a lot of folklore that people gravitate to, people are fans of. And just because you don't know about it and you want things to be a certain way, well, you're not going to get your way on that, right? Like, that's just not what this is about.
Two things that's funny. So I thought it was just me on it. I kid you not. I want to say this was after one of our practice podcast runs. I finished. I joined my brother and my friend. We was playing games. I got in mid conversation and I was like, telling him about like we can do this podcast. And I was like, oh, Harry, man, you're really gonna like this episode. I was talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and he just, and I was like, oh, and then I want to talk about the whole Dr. Umar thing, and he was laughing. I was like, what's so funny? He's like, one, I already know what you're gonna say, and I completely agree with you again about the outlandish comments that he says. But two, a minute before I joined that conversation, they were talking about that. I was a minute late on it, but it was like, yeah, they heard it, and I was like, what the heck? And then my brother's black, my friend's Hispanic, and it's like, it's funny. And I thought it was just me. He's like, no, I completely agree with you. Like, I didn't like that. Like, it's messed up. And then the joke was, because again, I told him about the whole Black Panther one. I didn't like it either. And he said, the only way Dr. Umar would like a Black Panther movie is if he directs Black Panther 3. Like,
it is the Black Panther.
That's the only way. It's the only way.
He's like, wait. You got to get my angle right when I punch this guy.
he's gonna, yeah. So, I mean, for any of our listeners, like if I'm wrong, if I'm sensitive, man, talk to me. We want some special guests. We want people to. I want to hear the different side of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe because I'm really invested in Namor that I shouldn't have this thin skin. But I don't know. Again, I could be wrong. I just didn't like those comments. And if I don't like something, I'm gonna call you out respectfully.
I mean, I'm sure there's in his platform and in his belief system, there's some very, very valid points, right, about being pro-Black, and sometimes you have to go the extra mile in order to actually generate change or generate like a difference of thought. Like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Like, we should think about something like this, and it should be cut and dry. But not everything can be. But no, I'm definitely interested in even viewing more about this person, and if anyone has any contradictions to what we've talked about, by all means, I would love to hear it. I would love to grow as a person, and if he has valid points that we should consider, videos or talk shows or podcasts that he's been a part of that you think would point us in the right direction, by all means. I'd love to learn from.
He's not a terrible person. Like, he's created, I want to say he created or he's creating a school in Philadelphia, like mostly for like African Americans. And it's I want to say it's like a after school type program. And it's like you're learning about stuff they don't teach you in school, like taxes and like, I don't know, like stuff you need to know, like stuff we need to know, but we had to learn the hard way, or credit scores or all that stuff, student loans, and like they teach you, and that's really good. Like, that's, again, he does a lot of good things for the community. At least he's trying to, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm not gonna absolve you for spewing hate as well, because like, man, I get too deep into it. Like, he's totally against like interracial marriage, and he gives some reasonings that I understand the history and economic point of view that he's coming from. I don't agree with it, because I think love is beyond skin color. But that's just me.
Think like that. Like, at the end of the day, like, not everyone is going to think like that.
Right? Yeah.
Like, that's just the reality of the situation. So,
but for example, like
points, especially when it comes to cultural gain and um, things of that nature. But you're just not
but
going to persuade people by talking down on the individuals
yeah.
that do engage in that. So
Uh,
anyway,
yeah, I start wrapping this up. Yeah, man, like I think the topic of Neymar and his reputation is just the beginning of what we're gonna talk about in future episodes, because I can easily talk about like an episode I am excited to talk about is like the emergence of Miles Morales as Spider-Man, and as becoming the more prominent Spider-Man, as we're kind of slowly moving away from Peter Parker, and he is a half black, half Puerto Rican Spider-Man.
yeah.
It's so cool. He has one movie already out, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and then he has a new one coming out. I forgot what that one's called. And then he has a video game out. So that's already three. And then he has a show as well. But I feel like the cartoons shows, like, they don't really get too much notoriety. But like three things that are huge. Like he's already a mainstay in pop culture. People don't like shoes and all, but like he has his own Jordan. Like he wear like very iconic Jordans in the Spider-Man movie, and they resold it and called those like the Miles Morales Jordans. Like he's starting. So like I can't wait to talk about topics like that. We have a bunch of topics coming in regards to like representation. I mean, any other topics you think that we should give a tease for future listeners?
I mean, I think you kind of ran the gambit, right? It's not just about media, movies, TV, but also sports, pop culture, current events. Like we've thought a lot about Kyrie Irving's career and how things have kind of transpired recently.
And he's on the news again.
West, yeah, and now he's back on the headlines with this new trade to your team. I don't know how you feel about that. You becoming a Kyrie fan now? You can like his game a little bit.
Go Mavs.
Oh, come on. Sell out number one.
I like Kyrie the intellectual. I don't agree with everything he says. I think Kyrie will be a person, if I talk to like face to face, I think we can have a real intellectual conversation.
Now, for real, man. Like it'd be a nice sit down round table, like think tank for sure.
I don't know everything. I doubt I'll agree with everything he's saying, but like I think he's very wise, and I mean I would love to just talk to him.
He seems like the type of dude that asks why about everything.
Yeah,
and you can't knock somebody who's inquisitive and at least critically thinking. Now they may get to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah,
those, but at the end of the day, you can't knock somebody who's intellectually curious and seeking out understanding when education is so poor.
Yeah.
That hey, I mean, at least he's actively, in search of some sort of purpose when it comes to that. But yeah, let's wrap this thing up, Jay. This is our first episode, man. This has been a blast. Looking forward to many more. We're looking at something along the lines of every other week or so, 2 podcasts in a month. We'll see how the vibes come from there, but we have a lot of great things moving forward. Jay, you want to
special guests? Got some special guests coming in. We got 2, I think, for sure. Special guests. One who definitely has a following. Other one is an up and coming person. So we just we're willing to take any guest that's willing to have genuine talks and willing to grow for the sake of education.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes for y'all, and y'all don't even know it yet. But for our first listeners, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Be sure to follow us on all streaming platforms, social media platforms. You know it, you name it, we're gonna have it. It's going down. This is Genuine Podcast. This is Genuine Content Podcast. Let me make sure I lock it down entirely with Jay and Josh. Y'all have a good one. Take it easy. Peace out.
All right. Take care, everyone.